There's one secret that all songwriters have in common: extraordinary wealth to promote their original projects. But after that, there are these cool little chord tricks that we can do. So today we're going to talk about something that is pretty prevalent, I think, in like a lot of cool popular music. We're going to give examples in like 4 or 5 different keys of just a cool move that you could do while keeping the chords very simple. Because something about music that really resonates, you know, in a pop culture sense across like a lot of genres and stuff, is using simple chords and then having a message behind it, okay? So the chords for this are going to be really simple, and we're going to talk about going from a 1 to a 4 chord, all right? So the first example we're going to use is just going to be in the key of C, right? C major, what's the 4 chord in the key of C? C, D, E, F. So it's going to be C major to F major, all right? Now, there are only so many ways that you could do this without kind of making it boring or uninteresting. So what we're going to do is going to sound like this. Okay, so we're taking the notes in a key and we're going from C to F in a descending pattern, okay? So basically, if we have a C major chord, right? Our root note is C on the A string 3rd fret, 2 D, open G, 1 B. We're gonna go backwards through the C major scale, all right? Really easy to do. 3A, 2A, open A, 3E, and then 1E, or just an F major chord. Okay, so we have a C, B, A, G, F. And now the cool thing is if you do this in a transitional sense, you don't have to change the chords. We'll talk more about changing the chords later. But all you have to do is really just change that root note. Now, that first move right here, and again, you don't have to play it fingerstyle. I remember a popular example of this in the key of C is the Shaky Graves song, Hardwire. He actually might have it tuned down, but it's the key of C chords, and it's like... But you can hear that descending line, right? But what's on top, the top of the chord, essentially stays unchanged, all right? So again, if we take this C away from this chord, we actually end up with an A minor 7, right? So now when you do this, you can actually just replace the A string, 3rd fret, with the 2nd fret. And instead of picking it, I'll strum it this time. And see how like I lift my middle finger off the D string just to get the A string. So technically this would be a different chord if we just look at the notes like, oh, a B, a D, a G, and a C. That's a different chord, but in a transitional sense, which is really just getting from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, that's fine. And then the next one is open A, then ring finger swings to the 3rd fret on the E string, and then we end up on F, okay? So, or fingerstyle. Okay, now I think the first time I ever heard this move was a Nico song called These Days. It's the exact same thing, but it's in the key of F. So we're gonna talk about the key of F, but really quick, let's use the capo. Capo the 5th fret, and then do the exact same thing with the same shapes, right? Okay, same pattern, but because I moved the capo to the 5th fret, now that C major chord is actually an F major chord, so we're in the key of F. Now, we could also do the same thing in the key of F. Without the capo, it sounds like this. Okay, so we're working our way from an F to a B flat major, and then it's really very similar to the key of C shapes, but because we're doing it on the higher strings, I think it just sounds different than when you use a capo and kind of use those key of C chords, right? So again, we'll count that as C and F. By the way, this video is sponsored by Vox. Vox sent me an AC-15, my all-time favorite amp of this size. So good, classic, iconic. I really like the normal channel that I'm on right now. They have that and a high boost channel, so they're 2 different inputs. So if you want something a little crunchier, a little blistering lead type thing with some distortion, you can just put it on the lead channel and crank it up. I did an unboxing demo of this, which I will also link in the description, and there will also be an affiliate link to the amp in the description. So thanks so much to Vox for sending this over. Again, it's got built-in reverb, built-in tremolo, everything you'd ever want. And great, just Great for whatever you need, honestly. Love it. Looks iconic. Makes you look like you're a little classier just having this just around, just as furniture even. You don't even have to play it, and it'll be worth it. So thanks to Vox for sponsoring the video, sending it on over, right? So we've got key of C, key of F. F is essentially the same thing, like I said. It's just 3, 2, 1, D, G, and B. Then we just go back to the 7th note, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E. So F, E, D, C, B flat. Now the next one I want to do is the key of G, okay? People's key, it's going to sound like this. So what this instantly reminds me of is a Ray LaMontagne song called Hold You in My Arms. And basically it's a somewhat chord changing version of what we just did, okay? So again, if we have the key of G and we're making our way to the 4 chord, G, A, B, C, we got to get from G major to C major. This is a really common way of doing it. So here's your G major chord, 3 on the E string, 2 on the A string, and then we're gonna have 3 on the B string up top, okay? Now if we just go through the scale backwards, G, F sharp, E, D, C. So this is an interesting difference in that we run out of low note real estate here when we get to the E, right? We have a G chord, there's that F sharp, the 2nd fret, open, E. It's like, all right, well, we gotta go higher now to go lower. So I'm just gonna go to a regular open D string and then down again to the 3rd fret on the A string, which is a C, right? So G, F sharp, E, D, C. Also, tell me in the comments if there are other songs that use this, because I know there's like a million songs. I'm just coming up with a few of them off the top of my head. But the nice thing about this is we can actually use different chord voicings just with your ring finger stuck right here on the 3rd fret of the B string, right? So instead of just going root note, chord, root note, same chord, we can kind of keep this but use slightly different chords, right? Still the same thing on top, but some of the lower structure of the chords are changing. For instance, we're gonna go G major, then this move right here, which I bet you've seen this a million times, it's a D major with an F sharp in the bass, okay? So it's 2 on the low E string, some people play with their thumb, and then your ring finger is on the 2nd fret of the G string, or your ring finger's on the 3rd fret of the B string, and middle finger's on the 2nd fret of the G string, right? So it's essentially a D major chord. So G, D inversion. Now you can do the E minor chord, really easy to get to that E minor. You just kind of take your fingers and pinch them together on the A, thus creating an E minor 7 chord because we have this D note on top. Then a regular D major chord with a D in the bass, and then a C at 9, right? Because it's a C, lower part of the chord, 3A and 2D, and your ring finger is still on the 3rd fret of the B string, right? So, Ray LaMontagne. And again, that's kind of a cool way because you're essentially playing a G, D, E minor, D, C, but that little F sharp in the bass inversion gives you that descending sound as you're kind of going down through the key, all right? So moving on to another key, let's do it in the key of D. All right, we're gonna do a slight variation on this, and all these are gonna have slight variations. I'm gonna take Fire and Rain by James Taylor as this. The chorus is like that. It's the I've seen fire and I've seen rain. And I think the original version is these chord voicings with the capo like on the 3rd fret, I think. But basically it's all around the key of D. And now this is gonna be the same thing, but we're gonna take it to the 5 chord, okay? So we could do either one. We could still take it all the way to the 4. So let's do the 4 chord first, then let's do the popular version where we take it to the 5 chord just as a variation. So we've got D major, where D is our root note. It's the open string here. Now we can do this where we go to the C sharp on the A string, right? That'll be the 7th note. So D, C sharp, B, A, G. That would be going from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, D, E, F, G. See how that works? But what he does in this song is he's going to take it from the 1, the 7, 6, to the 5 chord, okay? So we've got D over C sharp, over B, and then we're going to go down a string to an E, which kind of leads us to A major, which is the 5 chord, D, E, F sharp, G, A, right? So as compared to... So again, these are just some ideas that you could use whether you're going from the 1 to the 4 chord in a key or the 1 to the 5 chord in a key, right? A lot of different utility for this kind of stuff, right? Last one that I'll do, let's do something in the key of E, and let's do full chords as transitions, right? There's a great Taylor Swift song, maybe you know it. It's called Death by a Thousand Cuts, and basically it's the key of E, but instead of just going through a key from E to E, F sharp, G sharp, A, again, remember 1 to 4, we could walk it. This is a great example of seeing it all on one string, because here's the E on the A string, E, 7, 6, 5, 4, or if we talk about the notes, E, D sharp, C sharp, B, A. All right, now we can actually add a full 7th chord in the place of those transitional notes, just to create kind of like a busier chord kind of progression type thing, right? So we've got E major 7, D sharp minor 7 flat 5. So again, here's I'll go through the chords real quick. So 7A, 9D, 8G, 9B. And again, if you haven't heard the song, it's a great one. Check it out. Taylor Swifties unite real quick. It says E major 7. We just move the whole thing. We'll move it 2 frets back, and then your pointer finger 1 fret higher. And that'll give you the 7 chord in the key, which again, D sharp minor 7 flat 5. So we got 6, 7, 6, 7. Then we're gonna go to the 4th fret, minor 7, C sharp minor 7. So I'm barring the 4th fret, ring finger 6th fret on the D string, middle finger 5th fret on the B string. And then B7, 2, 4, 2, 4 in the middle, and then that brings you to A major 7, open 2, 1, 2. And then it kind of keeps going. It goes to G sharp minor 7, A, B7. Okay, so a lot of different ways of doing essentially the same thing but with variations. So it's always a good way to just string together little chord changes, right? And again, that's why it's really important to be able to use a capo to transpose things, because maybe you like one thing better than the other. Maybe you like that key of G better than you like the key of C one, right? So in that case, it's like, all right, well, I like how I use that inversion on essentially that transition to the 7 chord, which is really the 5 chord, just with the bass note inversion. Let's say I want this instead of the C one. Well, I can just find out what this shape is on a C. This is a G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. So it's like, all right, I need to make this my G chord, so I'll just take the capo and then put it on the 5th fret, and then now which is really the same thing as playing. But because they're different voicings, there is a different sound to it, even though you're playing it in the same key. That's why it's really important to learn all your, transitional moves in a few different keys. Like I said, these are just 5 of them that you can play along with, and then use the capo to kind of get the other ones out of the way. Because nobody's doing like a G sharp, like oh. Nobody does that. You just use a capo, or you just down tune and then just play it in a different key, whatever. Anyways. Let me know if you guys have any other popular songs that you think uses this kind of methodology. Thank you once again to Vox. Get yourself an AC15 if you're in the market for it. They've also got some new stuff coming out that I'll also link you to, because Vox is doing some cool stuff. So they have cool new stuff, and they have just the classic old stuff too. So thank you to them. And if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, the website. I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you.